Hey, yo, everyone, Andrew here, bringing you another video review. And today we're going to be doing my comic load for the week. So it's been a while since I've done a comic load video, so we might as well talk a little bit about how they're going to be going forward. Going forward, I will be posting a comic load video every week. And it will be a video of the week of comics, as many of them as I can read. I may not get all my comics read, but I'll read the important one, the big ones that I really want to talk about. I will, of course, give you my pick of the week, the comic that has the best writing, the best story, or just overall the one I like the most. And then I will be posting these on Sunday. Unless, of course, you're a Patreon backer of any tier, then you get all my videos a day early. And speaking of Patreon backers, to all my Patreon backers of the Green Lantern tier, which is the $5 tier, you will also get a special thank you shout out at the end of my comic load video. But seeing that we're talking about it right now, a shout out to Sammy Coppola and the Gay Comic Book Geek, who are both Green Lantern tier backers. Thank you very much for your support, and thank you to everyone that supports me on Patreon. So, with that said, let's get into our comic book load, because I am excited to talk comic books, weekly comics. I love doing reviews, but I love talking about the up-to-date weekly comics too. And we're going to start where we always start, with a little bit of Batman in our life, and that is with Detective Comics, issue number 979. This is continuing the Batman Eternal arc, which deals heavily with a lot of concepts that were introduced beforehand with Savior, you know, the evil Tim Drake from the future. Well, he wasn't evil, he was just kind of anti-hero-ish, but basically, the colony is all getting infected by the OMAC virus, nanovirus project. Sure, we'll call it that. And Tim Drake is one of them. He is slowly being turned inside, but he's not going to become just a mindless drone. No. He is becoming basically a prototype for the Batman of the future, the Batman that needs to be created. And of course, while this is going on, Batman and Batwoman put their differences aside that has been brewing for the past few months to work together to see if they can save Tim Drake. Good, bad, whether or not you should get it. Overall, I've been enjoying the Detective Comics run that's been going on with James Tynion. It's been really, really fun. This issue in particular, I love the internal conflict that's going on with Tim Drake. I like the fact that since he's been returned, he's become such a key player in this comic. More so than I think most people, with the exception of Batman and Batwoman. The fact that we're using an old storyline but updating it with Brother Eye and the Omax is always fun also. And the art is pretty damn decent in this. I've been enjoying the art. So on a whole, I definitely recommend picking up Detective Comics. Fun ride. Batman the Signal, issue number 3. This is the final issue in the 3-part miniseries, or 3-issue miniseries. And basically, this is everything coming to the head for Duke. He's going up against Noma? I think that's how you say his name. The villain of the story. And him and Batman have to work together to take him out. I don't want to reveal too much because there is implications for Duke and his backstory and his history that kind of get changed and retconned here. That is actually really interesting. And although I didn't care for the actual plot of the story, because I really didn't care about the plot of the story, I thought the plot was kind of whatever. I really do like Duke as a character, and I like the concept of him. I think as a character, he's very earnest, and he has this great tone to him. And as a concept of the character, I really do like the concept of the Batman family member that goes out during the day. They make a lot of references. There's a great scene where he's falling off a building, and Batman catches him, and he goes, "Day shift over, night shift begins." And it's pretty cool. And the final page, which again I don't want to reveal too much about it, but he's standing there, and it says it's 7 a.m. And its day shift begins. I really like the concept of the Batman that works during the day, because it opens up the span of stories that can be done, right? If we want to tell different kind of stories for the Batman family members, it sounds so minor, but doing it during the day opens up so much possibilities. Even more so, it keeps the other Batman family members from interfering. I don't know if Signal is strong enough to have his own individual comic. I would definitely like to see it happen and see if we can try it. But if they do, it'd be fun because Bruce and Dick and Barbara and Selena, they won't have to jump in and help them all the time because, well, they're creatures of the night. I do recommend picking up this series, although, like I said, the actual story itself was lackluster. It's 3 issues, and it has a cool character in it, and a cool concept, and I think there's plans for the Signal in the future, so might as well get caught up on him now. So pick it up. Flash, issue number 45. We got a change of artists in here for the better, which I'll talk about a little bit more about the art. But basically, this is a reconciliation for Iris with both Barry and Wally. I mean, the cover kind of gives it away. Wally finally talks to Iris, and it's awesome to finally get that off of Wally, because that's like the last thing tethering him to the past, right? Even though the end of this issue kind of implications towards something other than that, the last thing he needed to do was really reconnect with Iris. He did it with Linda to a degree, Barry, of course, but Iris, she was the last key. So it's kind of cool to see them get back together. Not like in a weird way, you know, like reconnect. And on a whole, I think it's good because it kind of recenters Barry Allen as a character who's been not dark but conflicted lately, and this kind of recenters him and make him more sure of himself. Good, bad, whether or not you should get it. The art is great in this. I think the art shift was definitely a plus. Iris has her long hair back, which is great. There's some really good scenes in here too. I particularly like the fact that Iris and Barry are finally on good terms again, and Wally meeting up with Iris again was great. I also like a scene where the Negative Flash, Melina, I think her name was, you see Kid Flash and Avery, who is the Flash of China, give her a hug. It sounds silly, but it's a really nice touching moment. It's really only just 2 panels, too, but despite the fact that she's in prison, they still care for her because she was a mentor to them. The only thing I can say is just a bit disappointing, just a bit. I love the reunion with Wally and Iris, but it was nowhere as good as the reunion between Wally and Barry. I thought it was going to be more emotional, and it's emotional, but it's not like as emotional as it was with Barry. Although they give a lot more panels to it, at least 1, 2, 3 pages. But anyways, on a whole, this was a fantastic issue and a must-get. Even if you didn't read the previous story arc, this is a good jumping-on point, I think, because it's going to lead into the next story arc, which is Flash War, which I hear is going to be cray-cray. Let's jump on over to Marvel for a little bit. The only Marvel comic I got this week, which was Hunt for Wolverine #1. This issue basically tells us how things are going to be done to get Wolverine back into the scene. Because if you remember, when Wolverine died in the death of Wolverine, adamantium was poured onto him, and he was basically entombed in a solid case of adamantium, which has 2 problems. 1, the shit is indestructible, so that's a problem. 2, is it literally is burning and piercing into his skin. How they get him out of that shell is explained incredibly well here, and I didn't even think of it, and I like to think I'm a pretty intuitive comic book reader who can tell you the ending of the story before it even begins. But they do a good job at explaining it, and in that, we also see Wolverine somewhat back, but it's just teases of him. Good, bad, whether or not you should get it. Good. I thought the art was really good. I thought the jumping back and forth to different time periods for the X-Men was good. Not like big time periods, but like, before, when Cyclops was still alive and Storm had the mohawk. I thought that, and, Kitty had the longer hair. Just subtle things to acknowledge continuity, which was nice. I also thought the explanation of how he's coming back, or how his body was at least taken out, was really good. And this makes me pumped for Wolverine to come back. Wolverine has officially become my favorite Marvel character. He's beating out Captain America right now, because nostalgically I'm starting to re-love the character for what he was. But in saying that, the only bad I can say about this issue is look at all the junk we have to get to follow up on this. 1, 2, 3, 4 comics, and I think there's more, which I'm debating on whether or not I'm going to bother picking them up. I love Wolverine, but this answered a lot of things for me. I might just wait till he gets a new ongoing series of whichever X book he jumps on. But on a whole, this was a pretty solid issue. I really enjoyed this. Next is Hal joining the Green Lantern Corps, issue number 43. This continues the Dark Star Rising arc, and I don't know if it's the conclusion, but it does leave off on... Well, it's not the conclusion, but it definitely gives a lot of pause to what's going on in the story. Basically, the Dark Stars are rising. If you don't know who they are, they've been used by DC before. Think of them like a Green Lantern Corps that kills. Or, it's incredibly violent. And they seek to put justice in their own hands. The Green Lanterns need to go up against them, but they realize real quickly that they're pretty outnumbered. Good, bad, whether or not you should get it. Good art was beautiful. I really did enjoy the art, and I thought the concept of the Dark Stars is pretty fun. I like the fact that it's not going the way I think it would with the controllers. And it's good to see the Guardians and the Green Lanterns actually being on the same page for once. Bad, nothing I can say really bad. I would like to see maybe a little bit more fighting. The tension is there, but not quite as there as I would like, and I think a little combat would have done that to see really how powerful these Dark Stars are, because we got the numbers in the army, but I feel as though they don't have the actual... I haven't seen their firepower, for lack of a better term. Still, really good issue, fun, I recommend picking up. Justice League of America, issue number 29. This series is coming to the end. And basically they have to go save the god of superheroes in order to ensure that superheroes exist. And the Justice League of America, if you've been reading anything, transforms into the Justice Foundation. Good, bad, whether or not you should get it, and the series as a whole. I've always felt a little conflicted with the Justice League of America because I think Steve Orlando does a good job with the characters. I love Killer Frost. I love Vixen in this. I love Adam. I think they are the three best characters in this book for the team purposes. And the Ray. The Ray is really good too. I don't think Batman's necessary. Shocking me not saying Batman needs to be in the comic, but he doesn't need to be there. Black Canary just feels kind of out of place. She doesn't really do anything. You could have replaced her with someone else. I love the team and I love the concept and I love the idea of the Justice Foundation afterwards, but the story is really just, I don't care. So I would say pass on it. And the series is coming to an end anyways. Silencer, issue number 4. So we get a change in artist on this, and you're going to have to forgive me. Let's see if it pulls up the... They've done art before. Is that I bet? No, it's Bogdanovic. I bet's the, of course, the writer. But Silencer is basically retelling how she was trying to leave the Leviathan, which is the assassin organization controlled by Talia al Ghul. And it recounts how she tried to leave it, and it's also telling what's going on going forward. And I'm going to leave it there because I don't want to reveal too much, but Deathstroke does show up. My boy Deathstroke. I think this issue has been one of the better issues of Silencer, which is saying a lot because Silencer has been one of the better series to come out of the DC Metal New Age of Heroes series. This is clearly, of course, DC's answer to the Punisher, but Silencer is really fun, and I think the art change was for the better. The art I enjoy more in this, and do not shoot me down. I mean, John Romita Jr., I love his art too, but I think this fits the comic a little bit more, and I really enjoy this issue. If you have not jumped on Silencer yet, jump on it now. Suicide Squad, issue number 40. This is the end of the Wall story arc. As you know, the Wall, which is a superhero controlled by the government, is really being controlled by Hack, who was killed by Captain Boomerang on orders by Amanda Waller. She's pissed at Waller, so she wants revenge on Waller, so on and so forth. And it all comes to a head where Waller has to basically play poker face with her to save her kids, but also to keep the Suicide Squad secret. I think the format of one consistent story has helped Suicide Squad a bit. In the very beginning, 40 issues ago, for about, I want to say, a quarter of the series, it was, one story and then another story. But I think having one full story has been a better take for the comic. And I think this story arc is really fun. I think there's some big repercussions coming from it. And Suicide Squad has been a very consistent comic book. And what I particularly like about how the comic book has been consistent is the team has. Suicide Squad's known for fluctuating its team, keeping like 2 members on there consistently and fluctuating the team in and out. But for the most part, it's been the same team for the past 40 issues, which has ironically been one of the most consistent teams since. So I do recommend picking up, maybe pick up the previous issues if you haven't. If not, then jump on with the next issue, but this was pretty fun. You want to talk about fun? Let's talk about the Terrifics. I love the Terrifics. This is issue number 3, and of course, again, New Age of Heroes is DC's answer to Marvel's characters. This is clearly the Fantastic Four, but I am all about it, face, neck, and chest. The Terrifics finds out that they cannot be more than a mile apart from each other, and you find different things about them that's kind of conflicting them. Mr. Terrific is trying to figure out how to fix everyone's problems, while at the same time, Phantom Girl wants to become corporeal and talk to her family. Well, not her family, but her race, her planet. Metamorpho, Rex Manson, the Elemental Man, he's getting into fight with Sapphire, and while this is all going on, Plastic Man is being a dick. Some pretty good action in this. Art is beautiful. I definitely recommend picking up the Terrifics. It's a fun ride, and get this issue. Titans Annual issue number 2. This ends the Brotherhood of Evil story arc, and it comes to a close with the Titans fighting the Brotherhood of Evil. Of course, they have to take down Brain. I won't tell you how they go after him, and it's not even the whole Titans. There's only 4 Titans that go up against them, which are basically Wally, Donna, Dick, and Roy. On a whole, I was unimpressed with the end of the story arc. I've enjoyed Titans as a series, but this previous story arc I really didn't care for. I don't know if it's the Brotherhood of Evil, which I don't care for. I kind of like them in concept. Brain and Monsieur, I forget his name, the monkey. Yeah, they're not the D-list villains that the Titans go up against. I don't know how I feel about them. I don't know if that's the reason why I don't care about the story, or if it's because the Titans are just at odds to each other in such a weird way. But I probably would say pass, because it wasn't really that great. And it's an annual, so you're dumping $4.99 on it. Sorry, I have that, when you wake up and you have that sand in your eyes. Jeez. Next, Teen Titans, issue number 19. And this is, I think, the end of Teen Titans, because I think it's getting renumbered because of No Justice. This is the end of the Beast Boy story arc. And what I can say about this is I did not care about Beast Boy's story arc for the past 2 issues, but this issue was a pretty good closer on it. It shows the strength of the Titans and the strength of them as individuals and them as a team, and how even Damian, who's a dick to Beast Boy, is willing to go out of his way to help the guy out. The art was good, the pacing was good, the action was pretty good. The story is okay. I mean, I'm kind of bored of these whole Beast Boys feeling like he doesn't belong kind of thing, because he does. Like, it's been done too many times, but the Titans is his home. Like, that's a place where he feels best. So, and I just feel as though that story kind of runs the course. But on a whole, a good issue. Pick it up. And finally, Wonder Woman, issue number 45. I almost said 49. This is the end of the Amazon Attacks story arc, or the Darkseid story arc, or whatever you want to call it. Basically, Wonder Woman has to go up against Darkseid, and while this is going on, Grail is going into Themyscira to fight against Hippolyta, which is pretty cool. I don't want to reveal too much of how this ends. This does lead into Justice League Odyssey. You're probably wondering, why is Darkseid part of that Justice League team? Well, this kind of explains it a little bit. And it's really cool because you get to see Jason meet Hippolyta. Spoiler, not a big one, but it's nice to see him finally meet his mother. On a whole, I've been enjoying Wonder Woman consistently since Robinson has jumped on, and this is a solid book. With that said, let's get into our picks of the week. I have 2 in particular that are contenders, but one of them slightly beats out the other one. Flash 45. I love this issue. I love everything about it. I think it's an awesome direction for Flash and art and story. But the pick of the week goes to Hunt for Wolverine. This, although I do not give a shit about picking up the other tie-in issues, I mean, it would have been nice if they just did it all here. This was a solid read, good art, good story, and a return of a Marvel character that needed to be gone for a while, but needs to also come back. So, yeah, Hunt for Wolverine, issue number 1 gets my pick. So, that is my comic load for the week. I will see you guys next week for my next comic load, and as always, this is Andrew saying peace out for now.